Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Eberron setting that comes out of the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Canon Hardback, which is the Eberron Rising from the Last War, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Eberron, but I'm also going to talk about my Dungeons & Dragons dungeon mastering experience right now, right? So, I'm so incredibly blessed, and, and I've been a dungeon master my whole life, but recently, 2022 was one of the most brutal dungeon mastering years I ever had. I had the breakup of a table that had lasted for 2.5 years. It was one of the most powerful dungeon mastering experiences I had ever had. We had no less than 10 players in this long-running campaign where we were literally handing the dungeon master slot from player to player. So you would literally play from 6 to 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, and then you would become the dungeon master from 8 to 10. And we did this for I think it was close to 30 sessions, and we threw in one-shots between, and people ran different kinds of campaign. It was magnificent. It was one of the best Dungeons & Dragons experiences. One of our players' mom died, and there was a lot that happened, but then when it exploded apart, right? One, I didn't know if I was friends with anybody at the table because it shattered so magnificently and so abruptly and so terrifyingly. And one of my friendships was permanently ended from that D&D campaign. That's the reality of it, right? And then the other people, I was like, I don't know where I stand with you guys. And I've been incredibly blessed, and there's actually 10 people who were connected, but I would say that 5 were very close friends, right? And so one of them came back, and we've been spending time, and we've played Dungeons & Dragons together here and there, right? And then, and just recently, one of my other friends was like, hey, how you doing? Just hit me up on Facebook, and I was like, I'm doing great. You want to play D&D on Thursday? Right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, what are you down for? Right? He's like, I was like, what do you want? What do you want me to run? And he was like, Eberron. And I was like, bet, I'm in. Right? And one of the things I love is this was just, I did not expect to be, pushing Keys from the Golden Vault back onto the shelf and pulling Eberron, Rising from the Last War out. And what really astounds me about Eberron Rising from the Last War is, Bob Worldbuilder's over there squawking, please, please, please play Cairn, please play DCC, please play anything but Dungeons and Dragons, will you please? And Dungeon Master, Professor Dungeon Master is like, I beg you to play anything but Dungeons and Dragons, and all these people, furious with Hasbro because of the OGL crisis, right? Furious with Hasbro because they got some back, because they sent the Epic Pinkertons to get back some product, just upset for a million different reasons, right? And upset to the point where they're literally being sent to the hospital. It's just this is for real, man. There's so, the idea that there aren't stakes on what happens with D&D is pretty ludicrous at this point, in my humble opinion, right? Just open your eyes, people, right? And so, but I not get, when I'm reading Eberron Rising from the Last War, you could tell why nobody moves 1 foot off of D&D 5e. Because it is so incredibly deep, right? I'm reading this thing and I'm like, this is amazingly good, right? And I read it in third edition, and it's better in 5th, right? It's just crafted sharper, tighter, with better rules, right? And the reality is, what Eberron is it's a pool, right? And all Dungeons & Dragons settings are pools, right? They're all, I would say, most of them are in-ground pools, right? And what this was is the in-ground pool of Eberron was built in 3rd edition, right? And it was very nice, and there was it was a nice in-ground pool, and it had some beautiful tiles on it, and when the sun hit it, you would look down and there was just sparkling water in it, and you could swim in it, right? And it was fun, and and it was just really enjoyable, and you had a good time in this in-ground pool, right? But when they brought it to 5th edition, There's a bar on the side now, right? There's a slide that you can go down. And there's those really nice, $1,000 a piece lounge chairs next to it. It's just better. It is so much better. And it's so broad and expansive and powerful. And you're like, oh my, and I'm here right now, right? So here's my current tabletop role playing experience. I run at a convention 3 to 7 times a year. So I do convention dungeon mastering, right? I'm running 1 hour Lego D&D for Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen for one group. I'm going to be running tomorrow night. I will run my first session of Eberron 2-hour D&D, right? With Legos, right? And I am playing in a Call of Cthulhu Delta Green game with Delta Green Call of Cthulhu rules, right? So that's my current experience. And that's a lot of, and honestly, I was so upset and so broken from the shattering of the game last year, and I didn't know if I'd be able to crawl my way back up, set everything back in place, and get rolling again. And it's important because if there's a point where I'm not actually DMing, I got to shut up and stop telling you how to DM, right? And fortunately, that day ain't come. like Scott, you can't keep Scott Garibay down, right? So I've tooth and clawed my way back up. I'm back. I'm very excited, and because I have to eat my own dog food, and so do you, right? And I'm telling you, watch out, be careful, man. There's still D&D commentators out there squawking and not doing the real deal, right? Not like talking about dungeon mastering when they don't dungeon master. Be very careful of that. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.